We are back with another one, guys. Getting this pipe unloaded, and then we're gonna change out these front shocks. And how do you know the shock is bad? Well, first thing to check is leaking. And as you can see, my shock isn't leaking. One on the other side looks pretty good. Next thing you would look for, see how this tire right here, but it's starting to cup right there, and that can be a sign of bad shocks or poor alignment. Either way, we're going to change out the shocks and do an alignment, because that's not good. That tire still got a lot of tread on it. So we're going to try to get as much life as we can out of that tire, but usually once they start to do that, they get wore down pretty quick. And as far as how much life you can get out of those shocks, I believe Gabriel recommends, I think it's something like 6 months to a year. I wouldn't go over a year. I went a little bit over a year on mine. And, you know, just use your own judgment on it. If your truck's riding like crap, you know, that's a telltale sign. Tire cupping. You know, you just gotta get a feel for your truck. But because that tire has developed a spot where it's cupping, that's gonna get a lot worse. This back trailer, these two back trailer tires, they don't have a whole lot of life left on them, so I'm thinking I'll just swap out those front steers with these. The front ones are 16 ply, so they'll last a long time back here. And the wear point on those steer tires is on the outside. So these trailer tires, that's where they wear, is on the outside, so that's fine. That way I don't have to throw away some tires that still got a lot of tread left on them. This is a way to get some life out of them, meaning we'll still have to get some new front tires, but that's fine. All right, so off to go get some diesel. Then we got to go to Freightliner. Then I guess we're gonna head home, unhook this thing, go up to the house where I know that the ground is flat, because to do an alignment, you definitely got to have some flat ground. And I know my driveway is really flat, so that's the plan for today. Part of my pre-trip is running my hand over those tires, those front tires, just to see if there's any cupping or irregular wear. I just do it probably twice a day. I do it, you know, whenever I'm about to roll out, and maybe when I get to where I'm going. You start to feel that cupping, you better address it quick, because man, it'll wear out a tire real quick. One cup will turn into 4 or 5, and then next thing you know, you got the wires showing on the tire, and you know you're going to fail an inspection, and it's dangerous. So it's one of those things you got to take care of as soon as you see it, unfortunately. But that's just part of trucking. That's just, it is what it is. And as far as what brand to use on these shocks, I've used both Gabriel and I've used Monroe. To be honest, I don't notice a difference with either one of them. I just usually get the basic shock. I'm not all about spending a lot of money on something that's, you know, not even going to last you that long anyway, because I drive on some pretty rough roads doing this oil field stuff, a lot of back roads. So we'll just see what Freightliner has, and that's what we'll use. Either way, it's getting replaced after a year or after 75,000 to 100,000 miles, whichever one comes first. Well, that's depressing. We got our shock absorbers, and we're still over here at Freightliner since I got the truck with me. It's a good idea. Go ahead and check, make sure they gave you the right shock, because trust me, they give people the wrong stuff all the time. Just make sure the ends are the same. That's the bottom, there's the bottom, there's the top, there's the top. Compare your lengths, right on. Make sure you got everything you need on here, because sometimes this stuff falls apart, you know, and you gotta get new spacers, new bushings. Of course, these come already with the bushings. Wow, look at that. Yeah, that needed to be changed. We're back at the house. The old truck has had a little bit of time to sit and cool off. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this. I like to get all my tools laid out before I start something. That way I'm not making several trips back and forth. So for this job, unless you have some kind of big, which I don't, big, we can't say the G word, unless you have some kind of big impact, whatever you want to call it, I don't know. I know what I'm gonna call it. Unless you have one of those, you're gonna need all this stuff. All right, I'll just go through it all. Of course, this is all 3/4 inch. Just a little short ratchet breakover, and then a big breakover if this thing's stubborn. 1 1/8" wrench for backup, and 1 1/8" socket. Most likely have to use a deep socket, but I got a little short one here too. Extension if we need it. And we'll use this whenever it gets loosened up. That way I can just zip it on off of there. Squirt some grease on there, kind of get it to, that way it'll come off a little easier. Some paper towels, and I'm gonna grease everything while I'm under there. Of course I need some jams. And one other thing, clean off that bolt. Use something like this, or this, either one. On my truck, this front axle, it sits pretty far back. Half of the tire is underneath the cab. It's a little snub nose. I have to crawl underneath the truck back somewhere back behind the sleeper so I can work on these shocks. You know, some trucks with a longer nose, you don't have to do that, but I like to go ahead and get all my tools put together and just stick them all in a bucket, and then that way I got everything. I don't have to crawl back out of there. I got everything I need right here. All right, well, we're under the truck, and first thing I like to do, you don't have to do this obviously, just kind of clean up these threads, because sometimes, you know, they get a lot of crud in them and it makes it hard to get the nut off of there. I just take this wire wheel and kind of clean them up. Second thing I like to do, just spray some kind of lubricant on there. I like this this stuff. You know, WD-40 works just as good though. All right, well, now that we're all nice and cozy up in here in the fender well, we can go ahead and start zipping them off. So much room here. Who knows, it might bust loose with this little ratchet. Nope. That thing is on there. Golly. Stay on there. All right, well, had to have my neighbor help me out with that shock. That thing was on there. We got her off though. Still got some pressure pulling it out for sure. But it's a different story. Collapsing it shouldn't be that easy. There's a new one. About the same pulling it out. A little harder actually. And a little more pressure going back in. All right, we're ready to put this shock back on. And I almost forgot, I want to go ahead and get you some anti-seize, put it on here. That way it'll be a little easier to get off next time, because that thing was a pain. Put it on there pretty liberally. There we go, a little better. Put this brown goo on here. That ought to be plenty. Spacer. Pull it on down. Washer on there. Nut. Tighten her on down. I don't know what torque. I'm gonna say tight. And we want her on there pretty tight, not extremely tight. Not like as tight as you can possibly get. We're not putting a wheel on a truck. This breakover will give you, get it just about right, in my opinion. Just put my body weight on it. And this bar is probably about 1.5 feet long, so I definitely wouldn't use this. This bar is about 2 feet long. It's too much. All right. Almost there. We almost got her, boys. I'm gonna go ahead and use my longer breakover because I can't get a real good pull on that. Oh yeah, that's it. We're over here on the other side now, where I double nutted it last time. Don't really have to do that, but I don't know, I did it for some reason. Obviously, same thing as the other side. There's no reason to show this one. Stay tuned for the alignment. That's what I'm going to do after I get these shocks done. Alright, so we got the shocks back on, and now, before we do the alignment, we're going to check our Kingpin bushings, which I just did about a year ago. Mine are different though, because I got some kind of Axle-Tech axle. It's a pain in the ass. The Kingpins don't come out. You have to replace the sleeves that go around them, and it's a nightmare. So anyway, we're going to make sure that I don't have any play in it. Got my fingers crossed on this one. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, because hell, I didn't know what Kingpins were not too long ago. I always heard of them, but it's like I never really knew. Kingpin is what goes across here. It's goes from your I'm not going to remember the terminology, lower knuckle through your axle to the upper knuckle. Normally it comes out. Like I said, this one it doesn't. I'll show you how to check for any play in that. It's real easy. We're on a downhill slope, so let's go ahead and chalk these tires because we're going to lift the truck up here in the front. Go ahead and get my jack under here, and we're just going to lift it about 1/2 inch off the ground. Ah, stupid thing. All right, here's how you check for that play. Just get you a rod, something that's pretty strong, not going to have a lot of give to it, and just lift up on it and see if you can feel any play in it. It's pretty strong. Well, the passenger side looks good. It didn't have any play in it at all, so that's really good. So now we're going to check this driver's side. Alright, so now it's time to start our alignment. Our kingpins were good on both sides, good and tight. There's no play at all. First thing you want to do in alignment is go ahead and check your tie rod ends. Mine were good. I just replaced them not too long ago. Second thing is, well, if you want to, you don't have to do this every time, but your axle is supposed to be 90 degrees to your frame. Perfectly 90 degrees. Sometimes they're set back too far, sometimes they're set forward. You can adjust the position of your axle. One way to tell if it's too far back or too far forward is your pitman arm. If your pitman arm is leaning to the right, then your axle is too far back. If it's leaning to the left, it's too far forward. It's supposed to be vertical. When your wheels are straight, which mine are right now, that pitman arm is supposed to be straight up and down. So that's the first thing I check. Second thing is we'll go ahead and measure from this tire to the other tire at a fixed point, and then do the same on the back, see where we're at. Well, and I forgot one more thing. When you're doing alignment, you want to make sure you try to recreate the position your tires are going to be when you're going down the road. So, you know, I just had it lifted up a while ago. That throws everything off. So if you do that, you got to back the truck up and then pull it back forward as straight as you can and just leave it right where it's at, and go ahead and do your alignment where it sits. Alright, and for your alignment, I mean, there's a million ways to do it. You can get you a block like this, spray paint where you're going to do your measurement right there, and just do that all the way around, and that's where your reference is going to be. Alright, so we got our reference points. Now you're going to want to find somewhere to measure from. I had to turn my light on here. We'll probably measure from this second rib right there on that line. Now some shops, they'll put the truck up in the air and they'll spin the tire and they'll scribe a line in the center. Some places will put a piece of tape right here and put a dot on that tape. Do the same thing on the other side. Measure between those two dots. Roll the truck to where the dot is on the other side, and then measure that. I don't really like that. I'm just gonna get my wife out here, have her put the tape at a specific spot on this, which will be right there, right on the edge of that. And be sure with these tape measures, don't use this end. Use one of the numbers. What I mean by that is just hold it right on that rib. So say we're doing the measurement from this rib right here. Get your tape out, put that 3 right on it. You want it right on the corner of that. That's going to give you a good precise measurement. Well, I had the wife out here and we measured pretty much from a good fixed point, which was kind of hard to show you on here, but that right there. We measured from that. Turns out, I believe we basically had a 1/16 of an inch less on the front than on the back, and that's exactly what you want. When you do your alignment, you want a 1/16 of an inch less on the front, meaning the front is just slightly towed in, because when you're driving down the road 70 mile an hour, the tires have a tendency to go out. So rather than them being exactly the same measurements, it's better to have just a slight amount of toe in. I mean, it's nothing even noticeable, but we're good on it. I mean, I did this alignment about, I don't know, a year ago, and it's still good, so that's shocking.